Oh, hi. Hey there. You were listening to that. I was trying to get, I need better pants. It's complicated. Hi. C-Note here. Welcome to the C-Note Audio Extravaganza on this lovely Friday. I hope you're having a good day so far. I actually woke up refreshed for like 5 minutes there, and it was kind of amazing. It's the best I've felt all week, which is great. I'd say the second best. The first best has been kind of working with the Anchor community to talk through things and figure life out a little bit. It's been pretty nice. Right now I'm just waiting for my bagel to deploy from the toaster. I've never used that sentence before. But yeah, today I'm pretty excited to talk to you guys and to get this podcast underway. Today I wanted to talk about image, whether it comes to branding, personality. I had 3 pillars, but I'm gonna think about that before I continue. There's branding, looks, and there was one more. I can't remember what that is, but we're going to talk about image. And what I mean by looks is not necessarily physical looks, though that is a part of it. What I mostly want to discuss is the front that we put off, the host sort of personality that comes out in some people. You know, this is me in host mode. I'm not being loud at the moment because people are sleeping in my house, but before I head into the car. But there is always an image that we put off when we're first trying to introduce ourselves to somebody, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But we need to kind of create good first impressions and then retain authenticity from there. I think that is the kicker amongst the discussion of maintaining an authentic voice, authentic image, authentic brand, and continuing to put ourselves out there in a way that is both interesting, useful, valuable to people, and interesting. Yeah, so let's get into that. Alright, back in the car so I can be a little bit louder, a little bit more natural, or unnatural, I guess, I don't know. This is more of my heightened version of myself. This is my host self. I'm Christian Rivera. I am C-Note now. I am my alter ego. I don't know, I'm pretty much naturally like this. But, you know, it's interesting for those who have heard me on this show. Here's the guy with the vest. There's a guy with a vest that always walks through my neighborhood so that nobody hits him. Anyway, for those who have heard me, you kind of hear that I get kind of excited for the host portion, and then as I talk about things, you know, my vocal levels change as the topic flows. Another thing I wanted to talk about real quick was I think it's super funny when, like, you throw something at a dog, and I mean like a treat, not like a lamp, and you toss something at them and they don't want it, so they just let it hit their face. They don't really dodge very well. It's pretty funny. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about image in terms of branding, looks, and voice. I couldn't really think of what the third one was, so let's go with voice. I thought of it this morning, and this is why I gotta write things down, because I forget things. And maybe I'll remember as I go along, but whatever. So first one, branding. We've got like 2.5 minutes left. First one is branding. If you're a personal brand, if you're somebody who's trying to start a business, you're trying to just sort of like put yourself out there in any kind of way, branding is like the most obvious thing you need to focus on, because building a good brand is essentially building trust. It's like building a friendship or a relationship. You're trying to show people that you can be a trusted product service person or whatever. Not a product service person, but a product/service/person. And somebody that can be trusted and that they can go to, and something that's easy to identify. And for instance, like, I've had so many cases where somebody's wanted to show me like a clothing brand or some idea of something, and they've Googled it and they couldn't find it, or there was a couple versions of that name, and they were clicking through the websites and they couldn't really tell which one was the one they were referencing, which is bad from a branding standpoint. It should be very clear which brand is yours, right? So that includes the logo, that includes the brand voice, which we'll elaborate on later, and that includes just the overall look and feel of your social channels, of your website, of if you're going to trade shows, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And what kind of attitude you're giving off, which is more of the voice thing, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, brand image is like super important, because like once you get people in the door, you can you could be a little bit more authentic. And I'm not saying branding shouldn't be not authentic, double negative, sorry. Branding should be the reality of what the brand is, but it needs to be attractive. It's kind of like dating. You need to be yourself, or you're the best version of yourself. Maybe not always, not every bit of yourself, which is maybe something we'll talk about some other time. But you want to portray the best version of yourself. So you want to dress nice. You want to dress your brand nice. You want to maybe be considerate of the things that you discuss, that you talk about, that appeal to the demographic that you're trying to attract. And think about those things. So when you're dealing with branding, think about what gets people in the door. What gets the people that you want to get in the door. That's probably the more important one, because you can't sell the unsellable. You can't get people that aren't going to fit naturally with your brand. If you're I don't have a good example, so I'm not going to use it, but maybe some other time I'll use a good example. But brand image, focus on trying to build an image that supports your demographic, supports the product, and is a nice intermediary for all of those things. And I think that's a good start to gaining success with your image. If you've been dying to start that podcast about doves, or about your favorite jacket, or about a long-lost love, or a murder mystery about a cat who murdered everybody, you can start it now on Spotify for podcasters. I've been on Anchor for a long time, and now it is officially Spotify for podcasters, and it has been a platform that has been growing for forever. And I love it, and I still use it to this day, and it has hosted this podcast for 500 plus episodes now. So I highly recommend it. It is free to use. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. I'm literally on my bed recording on my, the phone is on the bed, and I'm just talking, and it's not that complicated. And then you can distribute your podcast on Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are heard. So video podcasts are available too if you want to show your pretty face and have people see you. And you can do all that too. So just do it. It's totally free. No catch. Give it a try. Spotify for podcasters. Let's go.
Everyone in the nutrition space seems to be talking about macadamia nuts, probably because macadamias are the only nut rich in rare omega-7s, which support longevity, healthy fat loss, and sustaining energy throughout the day. House of Macadamias has a range of keto, paleo, and vegan bars, purified oil perfect for healthy cooking, and the most delicious nuts in savory and sweet with no added sugar or artificial ingredients. So indulge in health. Get 20% off any purchase and a complimentary bottle of cold-pressed macadamia oil when you visit houseofmacadamias.com/podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. Whatever you're into, with Amazon Prime, you can go deep. So if you're all about pop right now, you could watch pop documentaries on Prime Video, discover pop playlists on Amazon Music Prime. And if you're really serious, order a rhyming dictionary with fast free shipping from Prime. From shopping to streaming to saving, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
I just looked at the clock and I am just like running way late today. That's fine. I mean, I don't really have to be in. It's 7:30 right now. I don't have to be in until 9, and it takes me like a half hour to get there. So it's like not that big of a deal. I like to get in early, but we have a gym at work, so I like to get into the gym a few minutes at least before work, which I need to do more consistently. I've been kind of letting myself go, and that does not feel good. It doesn't look good. It's not good for the self-esteem. I mean, I don't care about looks so much, which is the next topic we're going to get into. Totally segued without even realizing it. I don't care about my looks too much. I mean, I like to look good. I like to feel good. I'm very style conscious, though I don't always show it. When I'm having lazy times, I typically just wear like a hoodie and pants and whatever. I call it like the slightly dressed up Mark Zuckerberg look. You know, hoodie, V-neck t-shirt, some nice shoes, and some nice pants. Oh, there's a dog. He's cute. Just imagine what the dog looks like. It's kind of like it's a very wolfy dog, which is kind of like my dog. His name is Miles. Anyway, so image, when it comes to looks are important as much as we want to say it isn't. I'm not saying you need to be supermodel status, but I mean that you need to portray what your brand or your personal brand is also exuding. You need to kind of fit into that. You know, you can't, if you're trying to sell a punk rock brand, like, you kind of have to have a little bit of a style or a look that fits into that. A little bit. Just a little bit. You don't have to be like East LA cholo punk rock girl. Like you could have, you know, maybe a couple tattoos, or just listen to the music, or give off that vibe without going full force into it. But I think it helps to have that brand continuity in your personality. So, I mean, obviously the brands should be kind of like an extension of your personality in a way. And that's kind of what I'm working on. You know, over the past year, I've been kind of regaining my authentic self. And through that, I'm starting to rebuild my empire, in a way. I'm trying to rebuild a personal brand and kind of formulate who I am around that. Or rather, formulate the brand around me, I should say. So your personal look is super important. I think, you know, if you're a naturally attractive person, you know, I'm not going to deny that it gives you the edge, or it gives you a good starting point. I shouldn't say it's like, it's not a guarantee that you're going to be a success just because you're super attractive. I think it's a good starting point, but even so, like, you'll probably get an audience quicker, but the quality of the audience might not necessarily be there right away. So there is a challenge for someone who is naturally attractive and is naturally charming and all of those things. You have to find a way to sift through and filter the audience to find the people who are genuinely there for your content, and not just there because you're pretty. And I think that is a legit challenge, because maybe somebody who is attractive or is super smart might not feel like they need to put in as much work, and therefore might not succeed as a result. You see what I'm saying? So be conscious of that. And if you're someone who is not very attractive, I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle, so I'm like, fine. I'm not worried about it too much. But like, if you don't feel comfortable with yourself, first of all, find ways to feel comfortable with yourself. There's always a way to improve your image, your look, just a little bit. You don't need to be like super prim and proper or whatever, but this looks like this is not the way I should be going. I'm gonna be stuck. All right, whatever. Anyway, you got to work on your image, at least a little bit. You know, look at style blogs and vloggers or whatever, and just do little things to improve your look. I mean, it's not necessary, and it's not a matter of like being super attractive or using that to gain an audience. It's just about using it to maintain an image, or to create an image, to create a look, and just to be kind of like presentable, the same way that you would be presentable for a date or a job. If you're having a personal brand, you kind of need to do that for that as well. I think I jinxed myself by saying I would get to work in a half hour, because I just hit traffic and I hit it hard. But since I'm doing this podcast, I'm not checking my maps and seeing where to go. So, whatever. It's Friday. Who cares? I could have worried about it. After this week, I'm like super blasé. I'm like, meh, don't even care. So this last part of the image podcast is voice. And what I mean by voice is, well, partially quite literally your voice. If you're doing anchor stations or any kind of speaking or broadcasting, you should work on your voice, work on your tone of voice. If you're, I always remember, like when I listen back, sometimes I get really excited and I get like that, I get kind of like a higher voice, like a higher squeaky voice a little bit. But then I remember that like when I was dating my wife, she used to call me in the morning because she was, for a while she was staying in Japan with her grandmother for like a week or two. And she would call me in the morning. And I would have like my morning grovelly, like super manly voice, and she would be like, "I love it." I don't think she said it that enthusiastically, but she called it my sexy voice, and I don't know. It's what I enjoy. It's fun, but you can fine tune and kind of be aware and make adjustments as needed, or put yourself in the right environment to tune your voice. But what I also mean by voice is your personality. How you put yourself out there, whether it's through a personal brand or a brand image. I think really great examples of this are on Twitter. Twitter is becoming more of a snarky platform, so the brand voices on there are a little bit more common than they used to be. But if you look at like Wendy's or IHOP, or similar brands, like a lot of fast food places are trying to appeal to quote unquote urban markets, and are just kind of like exuding that personality. Their brand voice is changing for that platform. Now, it doesn't change the brand of the voice of the brand itself, but it's just like how the voice would speak. Like if your brand was a person, how would they talk? Like, what would they say? What would their favorite song be? What would their favorite color be? Stuff like that. To really think about your personal brand voice and what you are. So if you're a personal brand like I'm trying to transition into, you got to figure out what your voice is. Like what is, I mean, we talk about authenticity, but what really is that? And then we're gonna get into some crazy existential stuff, but really what does that mean? Is it truly who you are, or is it an elevated sense of who you are, but still yourself? You know what I mean? Like if you're a photographer and you're just starting out and you take good images, and you learn from somebody else to take better images, is that still yourself? Still taking images? Of course it is. You're just a better photographer. So you're allowed to learn from other people's voices and apply it to yours, but still just make sure it's you being you. You're not trying to specifically copy someone or emulate someone's voice or image or vision or whatever. It's you can still be yourself. Just make sure that like if you've learned so much from someone's personality, that you've practiced it and you've honed it so much that it just becomes a natural part of who you are and a part of yourself. I hope that makes sense. That's basically what I'm saying, is just like work hard to continue to be your authentic self, to be your authentic brand. And sometimes when it comes to branding, you need to do a little bit of research, because maybe the brand is a little bit different from who you naturally are as a person. So maybe you need a copywriter, maybe you need somebody to kind of help you out to figure out what that voice is and how to really meet that need. Or if you're a business person, you've simply set up a couple of different kinds of brands that have all sorts of different voices, then yeah, you need to do some research, look at the demographics, follow some people on Twitter who talk like that, or I would listen to people on Anchor, or watch people on YouTube as opposed to just reading stuff through text. But learning who that image is, learning who that voice is, and how to best utilize that, that's huge. All right, so I'm going to end this podcast. This is kind of a quick version, about 20 minutes or less. But I thank you for listening. Today we focused on image and image when it comes to looks, branding, and voice. So I'm kind of curious to see if you guys have any thoughts on that, if there's anything I missed, if there's anything that you would like to touch upon. What are you doing? So I'm going to pose the question. Let's say it's a question of the day. What are you doing to further authenticate your brand voice? Like, what are you doing to make yourself a better personal brand, or a better radio station, or a better vlogger, or a better whatever it is that you like to do? What do you do every day in an attempt to improve yourself, in that sense, in the outward image sense? For, when someone first comes and finds you, what are you doing to improve that? That was a long-winded question, but I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I appreciate you listening. So I'm kind of figuring out what I want to do here in terms of the podcast. Like, do I want the intro to include some like tech news and stuff, because I talk about some of that stuff a little bit throughout the day. For instance, I checked out that Facebook Watch tab, which is basically a tab that replaced the trending tab, which I think doesn't make sense at all. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't know. I'm not, for me, it's weird because I'm always, all of my actions are deliberate. Like, I'm very much setting myself to, like, kind of have my day sort of figured out. Even if I'm bored, I have content lined up for me to watch. So I'm not using my time to look for content, if that makes any sense. So for me, that watch tab doesn't necessarily make much sense. Because I follow subscriptions on YouTube, and I have specific people that I look to, and I've got watch lists, and I've got lists of books that I'm reading, I've got lists of things that I'm going to go through, and I'm not necessarily looking for new things. I kind of wait for things to find me. So I'm curious to know if you're someone that uses that watch tab, or you think that watch tab is interesting. Why is it interesting to you? How does it help you throughout the day? Does it keep you busy? For me, I need fewer distractions, actually, so that would be nice to kind of get rid of that. But I'm already pulling away from Facebook a little bit and using more of the branding pages. But, to each their own. Not everybody's trying to push like 4 or 5 brands like I am, and trying to do different things. So I would like to hear what the public thinks about the Facebook Watch feature. And then if I've got tech news, I'll probably do it throughout the day. So anyway, thank you for listening to this version of the podcast. I hope I will catch you next time. If you're listening on Anchor, basically I've been starting to interact with the Anchor community throughout the day. So if you're not on Anchor, I implore you to get on there, anchor.fm/Christian-Rivera. You can also download the app and do it that way. And if not, you can also talk to me on Twitter or Instagram at RivalMyDesign. Feel free to DM me, ask me any questions about branding, logos, design, personal life advice. I'm not a professional in that regard, but I'm a person that's lived, so maybe I can help you. Different perspectives are always good. And that's it. I would like you guys to check out my music stuff, soundcloud.com/swingforthefences. And I hope you guys have a fantastic Friday and likely have a good weekend. I don't know if I'll be doing a podcast over the weekend because I want to kind of just do nothing. Sounds pretty great to me. All right, guys. I will talk to you on the next time.